1, 2, 3 guys. Let me know if you can now hear me. I'm back on. The whole system rebooted, and I made a bit of arse without checking it. Just let me know you can hear us first of all. These are back. It'll take a few seconds to go live. So before we start, California tuning in. Can you hear us in Duke Street? Give me a wee second to let us know if you can hear us or not now. It should be better because the sound is now fixed. Hear me fine? Is it a good volume, Andrew? Perfect. Right. Got it. Right. So let's phone Big Mark again. Got it. My apologies, guys. My apologies. But we're all ready to go. Just wait for Big Mark to answer the phone. Everything should be good now.
Hello.
Hi, Mark. How you doing, pal?
Fine.
Good. You're live on the Gers TV now. I'm just going to double check your volume's all right. Can you hear Mark okay, guys? Give me the volume. Thumbs up with that.
Can you hear me okay?
I think I'm a bit too loud with you in a minute. Okay, so I want you to know a bit. That should be fine. Just give you a thumbs up. You hear Mark okay? Tuning in for California. So there's Ranger supporters tuning in for all the world to watch this. Now we're just over 100 people watching. Right, guys, so we're going to talk about the latest events that's been taking place with Rangers regarding the 150th anniversary. Mark Dingwall runs a follow website, and he's always clued up with everything that's going on. Mark, first of all, the share issue? Can we go into that in detail, and if there's any questions, answer them? What's your thoughts on the share issue?
I think that you were involved along with myself many years ago, and I think we always thought there was somewhere between 10 and 15 million quid that you could pick up on a kind of once in a lifetime basis from the support. Guys that are maybe wanting to put in 500 quid, a grand, 5 grand. If the conditions were right, if you had people running it, then that's the type of kind of money that we thought you could get, depending on whether it was stable and or whatever.
Yeah.
So what they've done today is they've announced and under the regulations it's €8 million, which is about £6.7 million. Shares are up for sale, which is about 8% the current shares. So obviously,
that's cut off. Briar's cut off here. Need to phone Mark back again. I don't know what happened there. Guys, I'm just trying to fix the sound. I don't know what he's doing. A tiny noise. Right, so it must be the volume on here.
Your account doesn't have enough credit to make this.
Oh, I ran out of credit on my account. Mark, can you hear us? So you just get me call back. You've got the number on the screen, mate. I'll just get a wee text. So all the gremlins are in the night. Just give me a wee second. I'll text Mark.
hello again.
Hi. That makes sound a wee bit better now, Mark. You get cut off when you were talking to us there. Just let us know, guys. Can you hear Mark all right on the phone now? So, Mark, sorry, you were just saying that. You were saying that you reckon that Rangers can get about £8 million fans money in.
It's for some reason the regulations are done in euros, so it's up to €8 million, which is £6.75 million.
Yeah.
And obviously the minimum that you can buy is 500, and the maximum for any one person is £100,000. So you've got between now and the 11th of June to register on a special website that the stockbroking company that's doing it's called Tifosi, which is tifosy.com/Rangers. So if you go on there, they ask you some questions about your email, blah blah blah, roughly how much you're interested in buying, and once all that's complete on the 11th of June, then they will then do a calculation depending on the numbers that are interested, on the price. Now, I reckon the price will be around about the 20 pence that all the people at Dingwall Park and George Latham have been paid.
Yeah.
I reckon that's what it'll be. And I think they've, what the club have done is they've looked at it and gone, there's no right time for doing this. We're coming out of COVID, but we're also coming off winning the league, the 55, and going into 150 years of Rangers. So, the big boys have been putting in millions of pounds, but they know that fans want to contribute. There's also, if you think about, depends how you count them, but I reckon there's somewhere between 1.2 and 5 million Rangers fans in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, not all of them go to Ibrox regularly. So there's plenty of people who are Rangers fans who get the games regular, and this is a way for them to contribute to the club as well. Over the years, I'm sure quite a lot of us have had shares. I can remember buying shares way back in the 80s, and it was, the wee share certificate came, from, obviously been run up in a typewriter and signed by Campbell Logo with the club secretary in those days. And, obviously the trust, I think we made about 5,000 new shareholders. So it's a way for fans to contribute to the revival of the club. And I think it'll have a pretty good take-up.
Yeah. A couple of questions I got sent in the day, Mark. One of them was just in general, the point, is it any different for the idea of the My Gers share out for last year?
Sorry, My Gers, actually, that's a club scheme that basically revolves around the ability to buy tickets for away games.
Yeah.
So it's not really got anything to do with that,
That was a question I got asked that regarding would you know as well joining the My Gers rather than the new share scheme, but the new share scheme is a personal share. You get the actual share.
Yep, you get the shares, and obviously what everybody loves to do is to put the share certificate on your wall. So once it's gone through the process and the shares are issued, you will in fact get a share certificate. You'll also get another couple of certificates which show that you registered for it. You registered in such and such a year, and then obviously the actual ownership of the shares will be in your name. You get the share certificate, and then that enables you to attend the club's AGM any time that you fancy doing it, which is obviously over the last couple of decades that's grown. And
More importantly,
a lot of people treat it as a day out. It's where you get to ask the directors questions, and you're talking 30 years ago. The AGM was held in the members section, and then it grew a bit more, and they started having it at the Royal Scottish Automobile Club, and then it was the Theatre Royal, and then obviously it's been held at Ibrox and the stands, and then it's been held in the Armadillo.
Yeah. So
it enables you to have a vote and to actually go and question the directors of the club. But I think more importantly is it's a sense of ownership, and also with a lot of the guys that have been pouring in their millions. And the way I look at it is we're all fans, so if somebody like George Latham can afford a few million, maybe I can afford 500 or £1,000.
Yeah.
So it's my wee contribution over and above what I would normally spend on the club.
So one of the questions.
That's how a lot of people look at it.
So when you're saying that, obviously you mentioned earlier on, Mark, there's Rangers supporters all over the world. Would that be right here, or am I wrong? Because I get a question sent in saying that you can't buy the shares unless you have a UK address.
It's possible to buy it in some overseas locations, i.e. basically Europe.
Right.
But if you're in Canada, America, or Australia, for example, then you can't buy them, not because of our laws, but because of their laws, which mean that to buy shares in an overseas company, you have to be registered as a sophisticated investor and all that. However, past when we've done this is, if, for instance, somebody's living in Canada or America, then they simply get their mum and dad's or their cousin's address, and they register through that.
Yeah.
And you get the share certificate sent there. I mean, I'm not saying it's legal, but that's what people do. There are ways around it. I mean, you're not talking about huge amounts of, well, 100,000 is a lot of money, but you know what I mean. It's there are ways and means to get around it if you're determined to do so. So, for instance, if you and I were living in Toronto, then you would get your one of your brother's addresses or something in your name, and make the application that way. The share certificate and all the correspondence would be sent to your brother's address.
So just basically get a UK address, find it and use that.
Yeah.
Right, okay. How much money do you reckon if they get it on, do you reckon we go to the playing side of things?
Sorry, say that again?
If the money comes in they're looking for, how much of that do you think will go towards the playing staff, new players for next?
You know what? I'm not sure, because I think all the money that comes in goes into the one pot, and it's used for players, it's used for the general running of the club. But obviously, because it's something that they probably haven't really worked on, or depended on, then I reckon most of it will go into the playing budget. If you look at what Dave King projected, and then obviously once the good guys get control of the club, you're talking rebuilding Rangers to where we used to be. It's going to be about a £50 million job.
Yeah.
And I think there's something like was it 32 million's already been poured in by people. So it's a big effort from everybody. There's also difficulties to say that you're ring fencing money coming in from a share issue to a certain project. But if you look at what's in the pipeline just now, then you've got the Emerson House project, which is coming up.
Yep.
You've also so there's various things going on at Ibrox. I mean, they're also, believe it or not, they've got 11 elevators in Ibrox. Some of them are if you've had the misfortune to be at Argyle House and use a couple of those elevators, it's a wee bit dodgy. So they're all getting renovated. So it's your contribution to that.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, most of us care about is what goes on the pitch, and your money will be used for that.
So just to change the subject a wee bit, Mark, you spoke to me last week on a wee phone call regarding the future of the club, the Edmondson House and the projects. What information have you got on them, and how do you think they'll work out?
Well, you and I over the years, Simon, we've seen too many things with Rangers where whatever's promised doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The difference this time is they've actually broken ground. They've cleared the site. They've got the planning permission. I believe that the venue that they're talking about within the complex is going to be on match days. You'll be able to get 1,300 people in there. They're also going to move the mega store into the Emerson House, and then where the mega store is, that's going to be turned into a sports bar.
Right. Yeah.
So on the day of the match, you can go in your scarf, get a few pints beforehand, and then go into the game.
Straight to the ground.
And then obviously with Emerson House, they're going to. I don't know how extensive the museum's going to be. I think probably the best example of a fans museum I've seen is the one in Hamburg, where it's not huge, but they used the space really cleverly, and they were able to pack a lot in. And I think with again, you and I have been a little bit worried about the state of the club's archiving and their control of documents, their control of memorabilia from the club. But obviously that'll be involved in it. And as well as that, the concert venue, so they can use it for functions. And also part of the plan is to actually develop a concert venue. So, for instance, whatever bands you fancy, there is a market in and round about Glasgow for a venue that can hold about 1,000 people.
Yeah, but the old days would be a
get concerts running in it every week as well.
I mean, people that can remember back, they used to have some great acts in it, like the Drifters and Bernard Manning used to come and do entertainment, that kind of thing. Is that what it's going to be like?
I remember, obviously I was a child at the time, so I don't really remember, in its absolute heyday when it was built.
Yeah.
It was when it was built, it was the biggest social club of its time in Europe.
Right.
Obviously, by the time I was able to get a drink and whatever, it was looking a wee bit past its best, and then we started using it as a call centre, using it as a ticket office and whatever. So, I think it's one of these things where if you were taking people to Ibrox as guests in recent years, where did you take them?
Yeah.
Because some of the pubs that are within walking distance or social clubs, they're absolutely rammed. You couldn't get a drink. You'd know where to take kids. So you could basically go to the game and then you could leave. Whereas the capacity, I think, is likely to be such that, instead of rushing down to the subway queue, you can go and get a couple of pints before you head home. Before the game, you can go and get something to eat and then go into the game at your leisure.
One of my bugbears, Mark.
Of course, the thing is, if you've only got a game once a fortnight, or maybe if you're in Europe, you've got a midweek game, it's difficult to run a venue that's only open once every 14 days.
See, that's what I was going to ask you.
Obviously, they've got to try and make it multi-use,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So, for an example, I went to Anfield not long ago, about a year ago. Their fan bar's open 24 hours, not 24 hours, but 7 days a week, and it's open all day and night. A lot of the European clubs are the same, and the bugbear of mine is it's hard to get a tour at times, there's only certain days of the week. So, will it be more accessible than usual?
Well, I'm certainly hoping so. I mean, like yourself, I've been to places like, for instance, Feyenoord, and you go there any day of the week, and there's a tour on, and there's also sort of bar come restaurant. So if you just want a coffee, you can do that. Or else if you want something, maybe, soup and, chicken and chips, you can get that during the week as well. So hopefully it's the same offer that you'll get at Ibrox. I mean, I think they're obviously looking at what's going on around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things they did mention was they were quite impressed by what was on offer in Rapid Vienna, which is a very modern stadium, and I was lucky enough to go over there for that game, and I was actually in pre-match hospitality, and it's a lot more casual than it tends to be in the UK. But what they're talking about now with Rangers with their hospitality areas is that if it involves going through the main doors at Ibrox, it's shut and tight, but everywhere else is going to be casual.
Right, yeah.
And I imagine that will be the same with Edmondson House.
So see the Edmondson House, man, I've not read a lot in it. Is that going to be, see like for in the match days and things like that, is that going to be like a membership for that? Or is it just general public can turn up on the day?
Well, you know what, I think if there's a way to make money out of Rangers, will make money.
True.
And also in terms of getting access to it, I would imagine that there's probably be some kind of membership fee started to start with.
Interesting. So is there any more information you've had on the plans the club have got for 150th?
Sorry?
Have you heard any more plans that Rangers have got for the 150th anniversary?
No, I haven't. I think that's obviously, I do understand that there are various committees that have been looking at things to commemorate it, but as you and I have always said, is it only comes once, so you want to make sure that it's done properly.
Definitely, yeah.
And I'd certainly be for saying to people that if your own supporters club has got an idea or they want to have a dinner or a function or market, do that. Do that, because I'd like to think the club would get it right, but just in case they don't, then I think fans can play think if you look at the celebrations for 55, obviously curtailed with COVID, but I think if you look at some of the things that the Union Bears done, very inventive, very colourful, and done in a huge scale. I mean, I think the planning that went into particular the firework display when the team was coming back to Livingston, I mean, that was breathtaking what they did, the timing, and also the way that it was videoed and promoted, just absolutely superb. So that shows you that the club can do the official thing, and hopefully that does go well. But that doesn't stop fans doing their own thing. And can also just say, in terms of the share issue, it's easy to say it's only 500 quid. Well, for a lot of folk, 500 quid.
It's a lot of money.
It's an awful lot of money. But if you, let's say for instance, you're in a supporters club, what's possible for you to do is to say buy 500 quid's worth, and the secretary of your club registers the shares in his name. So the club then owns the 500.
Right.
But you can also have a document in the background which just says, on such and such a day, 50 of us bought into this, and we each own X number of shares. So you've got a wee document that backs up the actual ownership of the shares. And, something supporters club ever breaks up, you can all get your 10 shares each or whatever.
You're not going to lose out on that, yeah.
So, that's one thing where supporters clubs, voluntary association, you want to call them that, can actually participate in the share issue as well. Yeah.
No, that sounds great. I mean, we are saying that obviously bands and lodges or anybody else, any organisation can buy them then, and in their name and share them in a membership.
Definitely. We can do that, no problem. I think there's there's one thing I remember David Murray saying is, and I'm not sure if it kind of slipped out on accident or on purpose, but when he was talking about a share issue, he said equity is king.
Yeah.
And if you look at the share issues that he did, the lowest he ever went down to was 50.1%.
So as he control.
Because he knew if push came to shove and there was ever an important vote, so long as he had the majority of the shares, he would win it.
Yeah.
And he had control. So shares are important. They might not be important just now because we've got 14 major shareholders who each own, 5%, 3%, whatever. And that's good and healthy because it shares the risk, it shares the load amongst these guys. It gets them putting their hands into their pockets. But you never know how things are going to be in 10 or 20 years. And if we've got a healthy tranche of shares owned by individual fans or groups of fans coming together, then that's healthy as well. Obviously, at this point, should maybe say about my own travails with Club 1872.
Yeah.
Which was obviously the successor organisation to the Trust and the Rangers First. And I think over the last year or two, some of us have been a little bit concerned about how it's been operating. And because nobody else was doing it, I put myself forward. And I get knocked back, and at least one other person get knocked back on the basis of our so-called social media tweets.
Yep.
But to be honest, see, if I'd wanted to, Simon, I could have deleted my social media. I could have gone and tidied it up. But the way I look at it is, my life's an open book.
Yeah, like
so
you do.
a couple of the tweets I get dug up for, they're for cheeky comments that I've made to people that I know.
Mm-hmm. Aye.
And they obviously knew that, because they know me, they know my sense of humour, but they chose to interpret it in a certain way. And I think what's become very unhealthy with Club 1872 is, if you look at the letter that Reverend Stuart McCorry, the club chaplain, who'd been a director last year, sent me, very worrying examples in there of, there's only 3 directors at the moment. They worked together. They pushed him out, they pushed Alan Fraser out, and they're running it as a small clique. And that's very unhealthy. I mean, when we were running the trust, we had 20 directors.
And it changes on a
And
regular
now
basis. Yeah.
they've been running it with 3.
I've not heard a thing
really
for them for a year.
does need a fresh injection of people. And I think what I've quite liked is, when Stuart's letter came out, then there's been a lot of people rallying to the cause. A lot of people saying this needs changed, not in a very bitter way, but just saying, obviously they've run their course and it needs to be changed. It's not easy to get rid of them, and it's going to be difficult to get to talk sense into them and get to change. But the way I look at it, you've got nearly 4 million quid in shares or in cash in that organisation, and we can't just give up on that. So whilst I've been knocked back, it's certainly generated enough interest where I think people, are looking at calling an EGM or start to work towards putting people up as candidates for next year. So it's very worrying that all the work that we've done over the years has ended in a moribund organisation that's run by 3 people, and also they've got a 4th person in the background who's a shadow director, who's pulling their strings. So
it's no good.
I don't think that can be allowed to stand. It's got to be changed.
But
I'm pretty confident that it will be changed.
No, that's good. As you know my opinion, I was always a big believer we should never get rid of the Rangers Supporters Trust, and sometimes when I look back I wish we still had it, because when I see the media, the Hamza and guys like that, and the way that they treat the Rangers support, sometimes I worry we don't have that voice anymore either.
Yeah, well, it's one of these things, Simon, where it's good to say, the trust would have done this, the trust would have done that. Quite often, a lot of that comes down to the individual that's fulfilling the role as the spokesman. And what sometimes that can be quite a lonely place, because what we've found over the years is that half your problems don't even come from the opposition.
That's true.
It's the Rangers supporters.
Yeah.
So anybody that puts their head up has been a spokesman for a Rangers organisation.
You don't speak for me.
Seems to attract a lot of vitriol from amongst their own ranks.
Yeah, Mark, I've got a question for Jim Trotter. He's asking me, see if you buy the basic £500 package, approximately how many shares would you get for that?
Well, if you tell Jim, I reckon the shares will be priced round about 20 pence. So if you put in for 500, that would give you 2,500 shares.
Right.
So that's what your share certificate should have been read. It's like, James Trotter Esquire is the proud owner of 2,500 Rangers shares.
Aye. I don't know if he's actually buying them, he's just asking me, but I guess for the boys in America, a lot of them are interested in investing. I think it's a great opportunity there's a lot of Rangers supporters who can't, obviously, none can get to matches, but a lot of them tell you they want to get involved with the club and they want to financially help them.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of these things where, as I say, you and I are lucky, we live in Glasgow, we can get to the games. But there's a lot of people, who maybe not as lucky in the circumstances that we're in.
Yeah.
And whether their personal circumstances, work or whatever, means they physically can't get to the game. So this gives them another opportunity, along with, subscribing to Rangers TV and whatnot, to contribute. But it's not just buying something, it's actually being part of the club, that you've got that piece of paper that means, Dougie Park might have several million shares, but you've got your 2,500 of them. But when it comes to the vote, yours might be the difference between, 50% and 50.1%.
Yeah.
Hopefully we never go back to those bad old days where we really worried about getting numbers at the AGMs. But, it's one of these things where that's the way of the world. You almost got to think of the worst.
Yeah, so it's not just about securing the future, it's also about keeping it in the family as well, I suppose, because these shares will be there forever, unless for any reason you lose them.
Yeah, I think these are the types of things that people tend to hand down to their kids.
Yeah.
That it almost sounds childish, but I think every football supporter at a club where you can own shares will understand that sense of ownership to not only are you a season ticket holder, not only you regular away games, but you're actually a Rangers shareholder, and that you've pushed the boat out that little bit further to actually spend your money on obtaining those shares. I mean, that's the way I look at it, is that it's if you've got it, and obviously you've got to put your family first, but if you've got a little bit spare cash, 500, a grand, 5 grand, then you're putting in what you can afford. And the people at Dougie Park and George Letham and George Taylor, the guys that have put in millions, because I'm not even going to say they've been lucky in life, they've been hard workers.
Yeah.
They've built up large personal fortunes. So they're given what they can afford. And I think we as Rangers fans, just like them, should make the effort to try and put in what we can afford.
Yeah. No, great stuff, Mark. Yeah, just to summarise, I take it you support the announcement today then, yeah?
Oh yeah, I'm 100% for it. I think in the past, when we were talking about it, we thought, somehow we'd get control of the club, or we'd talk, David Murray or whoever was doing it, into doing this at a time when, the club was in the up and up, and maybe there's redevelopment of the ground. Obviously, we don't get to choose that. And obviously with COVID, it's a different situation again. But you're coming off doing the 55, you're going into 150 years of Rangers, and all the fun that's given us over the years. I think it's maybe time to folk to have a wee think and just say, well, all the great times I've had as a Rangers fan, maybe I can put a wee bit back into the club and make a contribution for shares this way. If you can, obviously, go and support the team the best way you can. But if you do have a few bob, then I'd certainly consider it.
Yeah. No, listen, Mark, great interview again. Brilliant information, and thanks for all your input to the Gers TV throughout the year. Mark, one last question. 150th anniversary of Rangers. Are we going to get the follow fanzine and paperback back again?
Yes, I've been toying with various ideas. When we were fighting against the Spivs, and I was doing the fanzine, I kind of felt myself that, I'm writing stuff here that's maybe giving too much away, so I stopped doing it for when we were fighting against the Spivs. And after we beat the Spivs, it was almost like this huge weight came off your shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's any difference to, the weight that came off the shoulders of other people in the trust or different organisations like Sons of Truth or whatever. But when you've lived this stuff for, 20 years, it was such a relief to just be able to go back to supporting the club.
Just back to the football.
Enjoying the games that really, it just seemed to have had its shelf life. But you know what? There are things that I still want to say about Rangers, and I do love print. I do love the idea of magazines. They're coming back a wee bit in England at Premiership games. There's some new fanzines started there, so I think for 150 years it would be a good way to start next season, but having an edition of the fanzine that's available for folks.
Sounds great, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks again, Mark, and all the best, and I'll catch up with you soon. Cheers. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. It was just a quick interview with Mark tonight. Any questions you've got regarding the new projects that are taking place, if you put them on the chat, and I'll send them to Mark, and I'll try and get some answers for you guys. Just to reminder to like, share and subscribe to the channel, and always remember, we are the people. Thank you very much, and good night.
We had McGregor, Tab and Goldson and Borna at the back. Alfie Kent, Rafid and Defoe in attack. Davis, Jack, Kamara, Arfield, Hadji came alive. With Helen dead and Balogun, they won as 55. We love you Rangers, we do. We love you Rangers, we do. We love you Rangers, we do. Oh Rangers, we love you. Not forgetting Joey boys' name we couldn't fit, like Edmondson and Barker, we knew they'd done their bit. McLaughlin, Jones and Bassey, Bungary, Zunga, and Nico Katic couldn't play, but he's Rangers through and through. We love you Rangers, we do. We love you Rangers, we do. We love you Rangers, we do. Oh Rangers, we love you. So Stephen Gerrard came to Ibrox along with Gary Mack, and they were set the challenge to bring the title back. The day that he arrived, he ended on let's go, and now it's there for all to see, the league flags coming home. We love you Rangers, we do. We love you Rangers, we do. We love you Rangers, we do. Oh Rangers, we love you.